Now let's take a quick look at our agenda today and the list of topics that we will be covering. Up first is understanding uniform programs and why they matter, the complexities of running uniform programs, how grouping helps overcome those challenges, how to create an employee-centric experience, and how to use grouping as well. And with that, it is my distinct honor to introduce and turn the presentation over to your speaker, the wonderfully talented and magnificent Nancy Cardone. Nancy, how are you?
I'm good, Ken. Thank you for that grand entrance for me to the webinar.
Oh, no, best.
Thanks, everybody. So glad you were able to join today to our second webinar that we've got planned for 2022, and really looking forward to talking with everyone. Today's topic is going to be talking about running uniform programs and how we can help you, whether a retailer, distributor, or manufacturer, work through the uniform program unique needs for every single one of your customers, because they're always going to vary, and how we can do this using some type of an e-commerce solution. So for retailers, you may be going after those area accounts that are in your community that have a nice employee base. Maybe they've got a couple hundred employees, and you want to get their business and control what the employees buy. Now for a distributor, you're going after those medium to large size accounts. The larger businesses, maybe factories, restaurant groupings, hotel franchises in your area. And then for manufacturers, you're really going after the large account, the accounts that have 10,000 employees, airlines, national hotel chains, large hospitals like Mayo Clinic with locations all over the country. And how can we help you provide an organized way of buying for each individual employee and work group within these accounts? Because as we're finding now more and more, an account just doesn't buy in one way. They buy in multiple ways based on each employee. So understanding a uniform program, that's simple. We know we have a uniform program that is branded for an end user. So if I'm a food service account, I know that my polos and my aprons and my hats all are going to have a certain logo, certain brand. But how do we manage that? And as we get into the larger accounts, it's how we can handle that based on multiple locations, multiple brandings within an account, like a hotel. And how we can provide a smooth, seamless system for employees to go on and buy just what they're allowed to have and not accidentally buy products that are for a different work group within that account base. And this is key because as we provide these very specific buying rules, as we're going to talk through today for these customers, in turn, it helps you, the supplier, because you're not dealing with returns because wrong products were ordered. You're not dealing with returns because someone ordered a shirt and put the wrong embroidery on it within an account. So in the long run, this helps the employee, but it also helps the supplier and their bottom line. Okay. You know, how's everybody currently managing your programs? And I'm sure many of you have some type of an e-commerce solution you're doing now, but for a lot, these programs are being run on paper still. You know, orders are being called in, they're being faxed in, they're being emailed in. Many work groups have different buying rules. For hospitals, we see a lot of payroll deduction, and you're managing all this on spreadsheets. How can we eliminate the workload on your side and in turn ease the process on the shopper and as well the administrative staff on your customer side, an HR team trying to manage payroll deduction? So an e-commerce solution helps with that. Obviously, it's a more effective program for the supplier in managing and running the orders for an account, no matter how large or how small. The same amount of work goes into managing these programs. And really key for the employee, as we talk about all this, it really is driven for the employee. How we simplify the project, how we simplify buying, because the last thing they want to do in their day is stop to order uniforms. We have to make this as easy as possible for the buyers. Okay, Ken, I think you have a poll for the audience.
As a matter of fact, I do. Thank you, Nancy. So we'd like to take this opportunity to ask the audience a question. Feel free to submit your response by selecting one of the options that will be given to you in the chat. For our first question, we have, are you managing any uniform programs currently? And you can select either yes, no, did in the past, or you haven't, but you would like to get started. Go ahead and select the option that closely resembles your situation. We will give everybody another 20 seconds to answer. Okay, we're going to go ahead and close and we'll take a look at the results. All right, Nancy, it looks like in response to the question, 52% of our audience has said that they do manage uniform programs currently. Looks like 29% don't manage any currently, and 14% said they would like to get started, with 5% saying that they did in the past. And with
Awesome.
that, turn that back over to you.
Well, thank you, Ken. That's all really good information. And nice to hear more and more of you are managing these programs because they're so important to your business. So let's talk about the complexities. And for those of you who manage these programs now, you're going to understand everything we're going to talk about. And for those who don't and you would like to start managing programs, this will give you an idea of what you're going to hear from your customers. So, you know, we manage every size employee program on our e-commerce solution for our customers, from, you know, a 100-man fire department to, you know, a 15,000-man airline. But the complexities are all still the same. It doesn't matter what the size of your customer is. The needs are all still there. So when we look at things like security, you know, that comes down to what access we give an employee to buy their uniforms. An example of this is when we look at a hospital, more and more hospitals are going to a color-coded department program. So PEDS is in one color, surgical's in another. By controlling products an employee is allowed to order by their login, it controls what customers see. Are they seeing the employee in the correct uniform based on what their job is? And again, that's kind of the same with customization. Are they choosing the correct logo or the correct personalization options based on a job? So these are all things that we have to be able to solve with an e-commerce solution. Some of the diverse buying needs, most important ones really come down to buying rules and payments. How do employees get to buy their uniforms? You may have an account where everybody pays with a credit card. You know, clinics, medical accounts, pretty simple. It could be credit card, it could be points. As we get into industrial accounts, hospitality accounts like airlines, we're working with multiple buying rules within one large account. Who gets allowances? Who gets an annual garment count of products? Who gets to roll over to payroll deduction and who does not? So you have to have a solution that is going to fit with the current needs of your customers because they're constantly changing. and then how to scale up with that. So let's talk about some examples. We already talked about hospitals and being able to control the embellishments and the colors by an employee's job, by their work group. But scalability comes in, and we're seeing this more and more now in industrial and some of our hospitality accounts as well. You may start a website for an employee group for one location. Now, I have a client out on the East Coast who he has a large industrial manufacturing customer. And they started out with one location, but over time have bought out some of their competitors. So now we have additional locations that have to be pulled into the website. And those locations all have different uniform rules. And they all have different buying rules. None of that changes, but we need to be able to provide a solution that can start, no matter how small, and grow with the growth of your customer and the needs of those customers. So we need to keep that in mind as we're looking at solutions that work best for clients. So now let's talk about what we see are the 5 most important group setups within any given uniform program. It doesn't matter how large. And it's how we're organizing an e-commerce solution to fit the client's needs. So first and foremost, we start with employee groups. And what's an employee group? It's a job. So if I'm a factory, I could be a floor worker, I could be a regional manager, I could be an office manager, I could be a shipping driver. So an employee group correlates to a work group. And what rules are tagged to that specific group, as we'll talk more as we're going through. So we want to organize an e-commerce solution based on job functions. The next thing we need to do is organize the products for each individual job function. Because as we create an e-commerce solution, we're tagging employees into what they get to see. So what uniform items do I get to see? So if I'm an industrial account, I'm oil and gas. I have a work group that gets FR products. I'm a lineman. Then I have a work group who's out in the field, but they don't need the FR items. They just need more of the traditional industrial jeans and work shirts. So it's creating that view to make sure employees are buying what is their protective wear for their job, if so required. But for those who don't need it, they shouldn't get it. So that controls costs for your customers. When you can tell them you can control that buying by their employees, it's also showing them that you're helping them, contain their cost because uniform programs are so expensive. So another area is the payment groups. So I have one group, they're linemen. So they get so many shirts, pants, they get jacket, some footwear, that's their payment group. It's an allotment. But maybe regionals get an allowance. They get so many, so many dollars per year, $300 a year to buy their uniforms. Then another work group could be a purchasing manager who likes to have extra product at each location as quick replacement items if a uniform is damaged out in the field. And that person's buying with a purchase order. So we have all these different corporate buying rules based on an employee group. But then we need to take some of these rules and break them down even more. So I get an allowance and I get to roll over to credit card. In a hospital, I might get 3 scrub tops and 3 bottoms, an allotment per year, but then I get to roll over to payroll deduction and to credit card. So it's just creating all these different payment options that can be tagged to any individual employee, because everything, again, gets drilled down to that employee's login, which makes this so seamless. Now, there are also manager groups. So what we find on a lot of public safety accounts, police and fire, is the ability to allow different ways of ordering. So one might be this group of employees, they can go on and order whatever they need as they need it. But before the order is released to the supplier, their manager needs to approve that order to make sure Nancy hasn't overbought. So they can approve it or they could disapprove the order. We see a tremendous amount of supervisor approval requirements in our customers' employee store needs, just based on certain work groups. It could just be 10 or 20 employees get to have the supervisor approval. Then another way of using a manager group would be, although the employees get to place their own orders, in public safety, there's typically a quartermaster or a purchasing manager who also gets to buy at the employee level. Whether they're replacing items for an employee or they solely do all the orders for their staff, but they need to tag each order completed to an employee and to their record within the e-commerce system. That is also a great fit for any of you who sell into hotels. For hotel franchisees, they can buy for each location, each brand, and have this easy access from one login to be able to place orders for their 10 different hotels and 10 different brands. So keep this in mind as you're talking to your customers in the different types of ways, not just traditional employee buys, but as well as the management staff buys. Okay. Now let's talk about shipping groups. And this really is key for you, the suppliers, because shipping is so costly. Shipping groups can be a great way to help control your freight costs, which then helps increase your profit. So, you know, if we look at an example like a steel mill, we have US Steel here in Indiana. And the one plant in Gary probably has 100 buildings just on that one main location. So you could actually create shipping groups for all the employees for one location. So you can pick, pack, and ship a bulk order to building number 1. So instead of shipping to the employees' homes, you can now do a pick, pack by employee, but do one large shipment to one location. Accounts like hospitals that have multiple facilities and locations throughout, their materials maintenance may want all those orders going to one direct shipping dock. So you're still shipping by employee, packing by employee, but you're either now doing a large UPS shipment, or possibly if you're an industrial laundry, you might be doing a route delivery to one location. So shipping groups, it's great for the employees, but it's really a strong tool for the suppliers, because this is a nice way for you guys to help control your end cost. Okay, Ken, looks like we have another poll.
Yes, we do. Thank you, Nancy. So for this poll question, we would like to ask our audience, does your existing platform support this grouping functionality? And if it does, please select yes, supports all, or select supports a few if it's only just a few, or select doesn't support at all if it doesn't support. And I'll give everybody 20 seconds or so to go ahead and select your answer. Okay, so let's take a look at what our results are. Uh, Kind of more or less what I expected. Looks like doesn't support at all is the majority, with 47% saying that there is no support at all for them, and then evenly split between they do support all of them or just a few, with 27% each. So kind of more or less what I was thinking. What do you think, Nancy?
Yeah, I would say that's pretty standard
Yeah.
right now as we're talking to retailers and distributors and manufacturers. It's about a 50-50 split on um, what they're able to offer, if they're offering anything. Okay, so now let's talk about making uniform programs really employee-centric with modern e-commerce. So kind of taking away the manual process we've done in the past, or if you do offer an e-commerce solution right now, is it really offering everything you need to your customer and to their employee base? So keeping in mind, the 5 groups we've talked about and how we can solve these issues, the end goal is to give that hassle-free ordering to an employee. They have a mobile responsive solution, which is one of the most important things you have to offer an employee base right now, because nobody sits at a desk and places their orders. It's on a Kindle, it's a cell phone, it's a laptop, it's a desktop, it's iPad, whatever it might be. So you have to have an e-commerce solution that's mobile responsive. We want to create that accurate ordering, again, by controlling what an employee sees, and give those flexible checkout rules. All of this is what your customers are asking for, because they need the uniform ordering to go as smoothly for the employees as the employees do. Learn to use grouping. So we're going to look at an example and kind of talk about how all these 5 points of groupings we've talked about, from employee groups to product groups, buying groups, managers, shipping rules, and really get a feel for how you can present this to your customers. Everybody, you can see my screen. So this is going to be an example of an industrial account and how we control all these different aspects for an employee. So as an employee, I log in, I'm going to see my branding. But the most important thing I see when I log in are my rules. So what's my job group, my product group? I'm a tech operator. What are my buying rules? I get allowance and I get to roll over to credit card. And how much money do I have available to me today to spend on my uniforms? Because these programs re-up every year, whether it's a calendar date, a new hire date, doesn't make a difference. The system manages all of this for the employee. Most importantly, the system manages all of this for you, the supplier of uniforms to these employee groups. Now, we've got this great banner area, so you can make this look as kind of e-commerce as possible. I have a customer who does a very large international hotel chain that we have on our system. And the hotel group itself uses this area to present information to their hotel owners and franchisees on anything new that's happening within the corporate entity. So it is a great tool for you to let your customer do some communication in this area, be it videos, just banners, anything like that. It's also a great tool for the uniform provider to make any announcements to the employees. New products, maybe you're putting outerwear on sale going into winter, things like that, to kind of spur some newer, get those jacket sales going. So this is just kind of a great area, whether it's fixed or it's a rotating carousel, for you to communicate with the client base. But, we're putting the products out there. We are taking the guesswork out for the employees. We can create these great categories based on all the products they have in there. We can show all the products out front. I always say if it's a big uniform program, have those categories. But what we're really doing is letting the shopper know what it is they get to order. What shirt, what color or colors. We can even tie into inventory so they know what's happening on inventory. But most importantly, we also take the guesswork out of the embellishments and the personalization. And this is going to vary from job to job within one account, because maybe one group doesn't get to have their name put on their shirt, but another group does. That customer facing, if I'm a Comcast employee, maybe I get to have my name put on my shirt because I'm out in customers' homes every day, that sort of thing. And then we can lock down what their logo or logo options are. In this case, there's just one. But again, the goal is I log in, I see how much money I have, I see how I get to buy my products, I go ahead and place my order. And whether I finish the order now or I come back and finish it later, because the system, like any traditional e-commerce, has an abandoned cart functionality, which is very important. Now, gift certificates, coupon codes, yes, all of that is available. It's very important you have that available in uniform programs, because that can help you generate sales when sales are slow, because there are certain times of the year where maybe they're not ordering uniforms. So you can do some things to try to spur those sales on. Okay. But when we talked about the shipping groups, and this is what I wanted to show. So you have that ability, certain employees might be able to have a shipping group and still add their own location, because I'm a regional manager, I travel a lot. But for that general employee base, you're pretty much going to set whatever that rule is. Do they get to ship to home? Do they get to ship to a specific location for work? And then how you're charging that, of course, that's up to you, UPS, USPS, FedEx. Maybe you're not charging for shipping because you've built the cost into the goods. Again, that is completely up to you. You may have a customer who wants you to use their UPS shipping account number because they get such a great rate. So you want to be able to provide that ability within a solution. So we need to create that e-commerce presence, the portal, for the employees to come on and place their orders so they can get through, for you to easily manage these orders. Many of our accounts that deal with multiple uniform programs, we can even do things like give a prefix at the order. So every time an order comes in, I know if it's for Mayo Clinic, I know if it's for Northwestern Medical, I know if it's for Sloan Kettering, because I've given it some type of a prefix. That's just a nice, easy way to help from a management standpoint for the customer who is supplying all the uniforms. Now, I did want to give just one more quick view, and then we're going to open this up for questions. We had talked about the manager groups. And this is, we have found has been key for the large hospitals where there's a buyer in charge of buying from multiple locations. It is great for that franchise hotel group, that franchise restaurant group, because that manager's one login. These could be cities. This could be Seattle, Detroit, Chicago, or if I'm a hotel franchisee, this could be Comfort Inn. This could be Fairfield Inn. And within Fairfield Inn, I see my department or my employees that I'm buying uniforms for, and placing those orders at that property level. that location level and tying it all into that location. And once I've completed the order, I have the ability to switch out and check another location. It just speeds up the process for your clients. And this is everything we do when it comes to a uniform program is how we can satisfy our current customer, make their job easy, take workload off of them, and at the same time, make the process as simple as possible for the employees to log in and buy their uniforms.